radio is broadcast on LSL Podcast Channel. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to the channel.
We want to hear this hour from our listeners up and down the Florida coast, from Jacksonville to Gainesville, and of course Naples, West Palm. We have a great listening audience. I know so many of you are packing up, getting out. We've heard stories from friends in the region who are unable to get fuel to keep their vehicles going and get out. The flights are all full. The airport is shutting down in West Palm and Miami. The last flight, I believe, goes out tonight at 7:45, 8:45. So the flights are stopping. We got to get all the planes out of there because the planes are going to be turned over. You don't have enough hangars to put all these planes in. The hangars are going to go. Well, this is a direct hit on Miami, and depending on which way this Irma turns, it could either have historic devastation to the Naples, Bonita Springs, all the way up to Tampa, or it looks like the brunt of it is still going to go up the East Coast, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Delray, up to Oceanside, all the way up to Vero Beach, and going all the way up the coast to Jupiter, and then ultimately hit Gainesville, and it's South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia.
Thank you, Laura, the weather machine.
Janice Dean, the weather machine.
I didn't know you were auditioning for Willard Scott's old role. This is a whole new career option for you.
I like pointing at maps, too.
Yes,
That's
I like
always
the way
fun.
you pointed out all the destruction points here.
Pointing.
It is. We are getting emails and tweets from people. It is a terrifying situation for them. Some of them can't get rental cars. One guy says, I can't get rental cars. I can't find water. Therefore, I'm stuck in the house with nothing but prayer.
Hope they have a cellar. A lot of people don't have cellars there either.
Not in Florida.
No cellars because it's your swamp.
Yeah, it's
you don't have no cellars.
No, it's a heartbreaker.
No, well, you got to get out. People have to get out. All the. You know what I think? You know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about all of the senior citizens.
Yeah, a lot of them.
The villages.
Yep.
That whole. Got to get on those scooters and get out of there.
Well, and a lot of people went to the West because they wanted to avoid.
Right, you were telling them yesterday to go to Naples.
Right,
Raymond.
Everybody was going.
Raymond's
no,
like,
you were saying that.
No, you were saying that.
Oh yeah,
you said to go to Naples.
I told my friends in Naples to get out.
You sent people to their certain demise yesterday, telling them to go to Naples.
No,
Raymond.
but people did.
Don't listen to what Raymond says about the geographical safety.
Some people did evacuate to the west side of the coast, and now the hurricane is toggling west, so it may go
like that
straight
word
up
toggle,
the middle.
By the way, that's one of the words. I don't like toggle.
Well, it's one of the weather terms you're going to have to be familiar with in your new career.
It's moving. Toggling.
It's toggling. It toggles. It kind of wiggles in an awkward way. It's a
toggling. And they're thinking now of using cruise ships as temporary housing. So they're moving some decommissioned cruise ships. They tried that after Katrina, didn't they? Didn't they have people on the cruise ships after Katrina?
They did.
That was one big case of dysentery. It was
better than those. It's better than
the trailers.
Those mobile homes are.
No.
There were people in New Orleans who were living in them for like a year.
Oh, no.
On their front lawn, they had the FEMA trailer. And then there were fumes in the trailer, and they got sick from the fumes. There are a lot of negatives to having the thing. But what are you going to do when you have massive devastation? Yeah, and you have to be near for the rebuild. I'm telling you, we have to pray. We have to help all of these people.
Now, 17,000 volunteers requested. That number is going to go up. No gas from Miami up the coast. People are not finding gas. I'm getting tweets saying people are getting in the cars. The cars are running out of gas. And then people are opening up their vehicles to other people to get out as people are abandoning their cars. People are having to push their cars to the side of the road. Sometimes there is no shoulder, and then they're ultimately getting out. But a lot of people decided to leave early, which is good. So coming out of Miami right now, the roads actually don't seem to be that bad because people actually left yesterday or the day before because they saw the enormity of the storm. When you see the size of this storm versus Katrina and versus Harvey,
it's big. 100 miles wide.
Much bigger. It's much bigger than those storms. And the intensity of the wind dropped a little bit, so it's Category 4. But now they're saying it can pick back up again.
Well, it's hitting the warm waters. There's 90-degree waters just off the coast of Florida, and that will heat it up and supercharge it. You've got to get out of the way. If you're there, get out of the way.
Rick Scott announced yesterday that if you're not out by the time the storm starts, we cannot rescue you. If you're there after the storm begins, we can't rescue you. So you've got to leave.
Irma has already caused multiple fatalities. This storm is powerful and deadly. We already have people in the Caribbean that have passed away and died. We are being very aggressive in our preparation for this storm, and every Floridian, every family should take this seriously and be aggressive. You've got to protect your family. Possessions can be replaced. Your family cannot.
Yeah, we can't rescue you once this storm starts. Now they're showing Key Largo, and the freeway is completely backed up. Yeah, no, it is backed up. So I don't know what they're going to do. I want to hear from you, though. 855-40-LAURA, 855-40-LAURA. Our friends in Florida, Georgia's getting ready. The feds are telling Georgia to prepare. They are going to get hit. To the extent, the size of the storm at that point, we don't know. But South Carolina and Georgia are both going to deal with the wrath of Irma. And, you know, this is a day that Raymond tweeted out. The only Irma I want to see is Irma Thomas.
No.
She passed away how long ago?
No, she did. She's still alive, performing. She is? I just saw her a few weeks ago. You're terrible. You want to bury everybody.
No, I don't.
Irma Thomas is great.
I keep thinking she's passed on.
No, she's simply the best. Do you know that song was hers before
Simply
Tina
the best
Turner?
for Tina Turner.
Before Tina Turner did it, Irma Thomas did it.
It's going to begin tomorrow, slamming Florida. And I think, and you can chime in on this, I think people who jack up prices to make a buck, the gouging that's going on, I mean, it's I don't know if it should be illegal, but it's reprehensible.
Well, it should be illegal. During a crisis, it should be illegal.
It shouldn't be allowed that you can, I mean, I understand if you can't find, if your workers aren't showing up because they're evacuating. Here's the problem a lot of stores are finding. They can't get their workers to come in because they're worried about their families. They're hitting the road. So they don't have anybody to mind the stores. And the National Guard is preparing for looters. Because they're worried about the looters. And by the way, don't take people's guns away. What is that story in the Virgin Islands? U.S. Virgin Islands, how they started taking people's guns away after the hurricane? Because what? No. You let people defend their own property.
As we learned in Katrina, after the hurricane, that's when
the vultures come in. Oh no, that's when the vultures come in. They pick you clean.
Yep. And I mean, there are no cops around in the wake of a hurricane, because they are doing relief and still trying to
rescue
up the pieces. And then you have the National Guards patrolling, but it's dark.
It's dark, yeah.
There's no light. That's what happened in Katrina. There were whole areas that were in darkness.
Pitch dark.
Yeah. If you didn't have a generator, you're in the dark or with a candle. So you need to have some kinds of protection.
Byron York has written some great pieces over the last 6 months, but we're going to get into one of these. One of the things he wrote yesterday about the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, DACA, and crime, and who has qualified for deferred action, the so-called dreamer status. Now, we're led to believe, through Nancy's tweets and Trump saying, don't worry, no deportation over the next 6 months, we're kind of all led to believe that this is just a group of individuals who, when they're not rescuing cats from trees, are on the National Honor Roll. Like every single one of them is acing, trigonometry. And so we're led to believe this. These are the best of the best. We're getting the creme de la creme. Well, it turns out that's not actually the case. The people who qualify can have a number of serious misdemeanors and still be a dreamer, still qualify for dreamer status. And how people have fraudulently claimed dreamer status. People who are in their 40s who claimed that because there's no papers, there's no documentation, they don't have proper, birth certificates or anything, so they came here without their records.
But all the advocates say, wait, these people have been screened, they've given their fingerprints, everything is known about them, that it's a long, complicated process.
Here's the story. So Obama started the Dreamer thing in 2012.
Right.
This is the executive action, the unconstitutional executive action. And in in the executive order, it's stipulated that to be eligible, recipients must not, and this is a quote from the order, must not have a felony offense, a significant misdemeanor offense, multiple misdemeanor offenses, or otherwise pose a threat to national security or public safety. So that sounds really good, right? So it sounds pretty comprehensive. So when he announced this criteria, the criteria for renewing the DACA status in 2014, the standard then was, quote, have not been convicted of a felony, a significant misdemeanor, or 3 or more misdemeanors. So they watered it down as time went on, and not otherwise pose a threat to national security, etc. The Obama administration defined a significant misdemeanor, in quotes, as a crime with a maximum sentence of 1 year or, regardless of the length of the sentence, an offense of domestic violence, sexual abuse or exploitation, burglary, unlawful possession of a firearm, drug distribution or trafficking, driving under the influence. With the DREAM Act of 2017, Lindsey Graham, Jeff, living up to his last name, Flake, and Tricky Dick Durbin, and Schumer have adopted much of that existing Obama-era criteria about crime, but in a way that would allow the Department of Homeland Security to be more generous with the newly legalized DACA recipients. So the DREAM Act would exclude anyone who's been convicted of any offense under federal or state law other than a state offense for which an essential element is an alien's immigration status. Okay, so you can't be just the immigration status that they did wrong. So you have to parse the language. The phrase "other than a state offense for which an essential element is could exclude a lot of criminal activity, Byron says. It would grant status to illegal aliens who have been convicted of, for example, felony ID fraud or other crimes that could be considered to be related to their immigration status. In other words, if you've been using fake documents, if you've been using other means to portray yourself as legal, that doesn't count. So Jessica Vaughn of the Center for Immigration Studies said you could say human smuggling, document fraud, benefits fraud, false claims to citizenship, all of that is related to immigration status. So that would not exclude you from becoming eligible for the new Dreamer status. So you have to be, you can't just kind of look at the language and say, oh, that's great, that's really tough. You have to look at you have to parse the language here. So if it's a crime related to covering up your immigration status, or as part of your immigration status, human smuggling, document smuggling, production of false documents, then that doesn't disqualify you from Dreamer status. That's very different from just a kid who kind of wandered across the border with mama left in Honduras. It's a very different deal. So now counterfeiters, they're all eligible for the Dreamer status. 855-40-LAURA. We want to hear from you in Florida, all of you who have been enduring this massive evacuation effort. You have to get out quickly. If you're told to evacuate, get out of there. Get out quickly. And Bannon speaks on DACA and the Billy Bush tapes. We'll get to that as well. Don't go away.
Blow, ill wind, blow away.
While retailers are working as quickly as possible to fill grocery shelves with water and other emergency resources, we ask that you prepare. But as you prepare, be considerate of your neighbors. Take what you need, but only what you need.
Do you dread going to the mailbox this time of year? Well, if you're a timeshare owner, I know you do. Another year, another maintenance fee bill that increased, or maybe you've received an additional special assessment this year, too. It's like throwing thousands of dollars down the drain. Well, for the past 6 years, my friends at ResortRelease.com have been helping timeshare owners put an end to those timeshare maintenance fees. They'll help you legally and permanently terminate that timeshare contract and end all future payments guaranteed. They've even earned an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. So go to ResortRelease.com and call them at 855-66-LAURA. ResortRelease.com gives every customer a 100% guarantee that lets you legally and permanently walk away from that timeshare. And if you don't get out of the timeshare contract, you do not pay a dime. 2018's maintenance fee bills will arrive any day, so get out now before you pay that fee. Visit resortrelease.com or call them at 855-66-LAURA to see if you qualify. 855. That's Brock Long, FEMA director. And meanwhile, out west, they feel like they're being forgotten about because we have 1 million+ acres burning. The U.S. Forest Service has a lot to answer for in the failure to do controlled burns to stop the fire from jumping from area to area. Not doing it. A lot of the environmentalists don't like the controlled burns either. Guess what? You got to do them to stop these forest fires. Otherwise, they're going to rage out. You got to do controlled fires. And we haven't been doing them for a whole host of reasons. So we got the fires. We got my friends in Encino Hills, north of L.A., up above the 101. Yep. They can see the fires. They're the hill. Oh, yeah. Jill sent me a photo yesterday of the fires from her balcony. You could see the fires on the hillsides coming toward L.A. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here. But this Irma is the biggest story. I mean, DACA is big. Bannon's getting everybody upset. Oh, that Dolan, the Catholic bishops, they're all coming after Bannon.
Yeah, we'll play some of that.
Yeah, we'll get into all of that. Meanwhile, people are surfing in West Palm. The surfers are out there. You see those? See those pictures? They're out there with their... They're going to lose their lives. Well, these people surfing are insane, okay? You're going to lose your life because you wanted to catch the wave. I hope that hang 10 lasts long enough to give you that final thrill.
That wave's going to carry you to North Carolina.
Yeah, you're going to ride. That's going to be a long wave. It's going to go all the way up to the Georgia coast. Let's go to Marianne, Florida, line 2. Our listeners are giving us some of the great reporting on the scene. You guys are my eyes and ears. Marianne.
Yes.
What are you seeing, girl?
Hi, I just wanted. We left St. Petersburg around 3:30 this morning, and we had smooth sailing all the way until Perry. So no traffic, no stops. We made it in great time. Perry has a traffic light not being manned, and it backed everybody up for an hour. Mm-hmm. There is gas. We were trying to find gas. They didn't have any gas open. And we finally found it at I-10 and 59.
And where are you ultimately going to end? Where are you going to end up?
The closest hotel I could find was in Alabama.
Oh, God bless you. Well, God bless you, Marianne. Thanks for that update. We'll take a break. Pat Buchanan up next. You don't want any problems with your car. Certainly don't want to have that check engine light go on. You're lucky if you have the gas in your car. But if your car's between 3 and 12 years old, guess what? Our friends at CarShield offer the best extended vehicle service protection out there. Your transmission blows, maybe your air conditioner, your heater, one of your sensors. This stuff can set you back big bucks. Save yourself the stress and the hit on the pocketbook. Get with CarShield. You go to carshield.com and you'll see how to do it. You use my name, Laura. You get 10% off. By the way, your mechanic, your car dealer, your favorite mechanic, they get paid directly, so you're not out of pocket, which is what I love. And you get 24/7 roadside, a rental car while yours is in the shop. But you have to call them at 800-CAR-6100. That's 800-CAR-6100. Use my name. Or, as I said, go to carshield.com. Use that code Laura. Save 10%. carshield.com, code Laura. Don't get caught behind the 8 ball with that check engine light when you need to be in that car and have it working most. Oh, my gosh. You got the head spinning. Old Mitch McConnell. Doesn't know what hit him. Oh, Paul Ryan's like doing 5 P90X workouts a morning because he's... By the way, his people are very nasty to us at LifeZette. Paul Ryan's people are nasty. They did a nasty tweet to Jim Stimson, which I saw yesterday. Not appreciated. Because of the storm concern of America, I'm going to hold my fire, and I'm not going to mention names. But keep pushing me, and I will go for the name. I will mention the names, because I don't like the disrespect from the Ryan office, okay? Paul Ryan and I have a very good relationship. I have to say that. I respect him. I like him very much. Don't agree with him on everything, but I like him. I think he's a wonderful human being, and he's doing what he thinks is best. No, he thinks that he's doing what's best for the country, and he has to. His credit, he pushed through that Obamacare repeal, and the Senate couldn't do it, so he pushed the vote through and got the vote through. But we have generally a very good relationship.
So you're very close.
Very close. I'm not appreciative of the negativity coming out of his office. I love when a kid has like a title, Director of Digital Operations. What does that look like? Ryan's Director of Digital Operations. Oh, okay. You know,
they make some very sparkly
videos.
Little trailers and videos.
Oh, yeah. Move over Tim Cook. I mean, please. Joining us now, Pat Buchanan, advisor to Nixon, Reagan, so many others, author of Nixon's White House Wars, the battles that made and broke a president and divided America forever. Pat, I have to say, of all my years in Washington, I don't think I thought it was election night when I saw people's heads spin around. Like they're all like totally aghast at what was happening in the Rust Belt and all the states that Trump won. But now when Trump says, the Republicans aren't giving me anything I can work with. Hey, Nancy, what do you got on your plate? Let's see if we can work together. They're just in a complete meltdown. Hey, Pat.
How you doing?
I'm good.
They are indeed.
Keeping everybody guessing. Everyone's guessing.
Well, you can understand the president's, frustration, exasperation, impatience. They got nothing done, and they couldn't repeal and replace Obamacare in 7 months, and then he comes back and they're all arguing over the debt ceiling, and so he finally says, look, let's get this done. If you can't get the 18 months, I'm going with the 3 months. Chuck and Nancy will help me out on that. And I think he did the right thing, but I will say this. First, down the road, he's going to face a real crunch on an awful lot of things in December, piling up. And secondly, now he's got to make a strategic decision. This could be a seismic change in American politics. Take the immigration issue and take DACA and amnesty for the Dreamers. My guess is he's probably looking to cut a deal with the Democrats on not deporting anybody at the same time, or of the 800,000 at the same time they give him something on the wall of defense, and the fat will really be in the fire.
Well, I think that that's probably not the best deal because $1.6 billion down payment or whatever it ends up being, that means nothing if Nancy Pelosi becomes the Speaker of the House next year. And we know the Republicans don't want to pay for the wall either. They don't want a wall for the most part. So the $1.6 billion gives Trump some cover on the wall promise, right. but it ain't going to build a significant barrier at the border. I mean, that's going to be what, 30 miles, or I don't know what that's going to be, 100 miles.
Well, I know exactly. It's not going to do it, but they're not going to give him the wall. But the point is, he really is headed now down a road that leads
to amnesty.
If the Republicans can't get their act together and get united and solidly united in the Senate and the House, that leads to Trump doing deals on tax reform and on immigration and on infrastructure and getting the necessary Democratic votes by giving them something of what they want. And this is a real problem for the Republican majorities in both houses. That in fact the leaders and the majorities are bypassed.
Well, Pat, I've said for some time now that unless they deliver results, unless individuals inside the White House deliver results, they're not going to last long. Trump's a results guy. Show me what you can do for me. How am I going to be more popular after this 3-month period where you say we're going to do X, Y, and Z? Show me. So what did you do again? And so the Republicans came up empty.
What he is. He's a builder. When he runs into a problem, they say, well, we haven't been able to excavate. Well, you didn't do it. Now get out of here and get this other company in here.
Right.
Let's get something done, because what I do is put buildings up. And what he's saying basically to the Congress is, look, I want an agenda, and I want it enacted, and I want it passed, and I want a record that says Donald Trump was a successful president who came to Washington, D.C., and did what he promised, and he had to deal with Democrats because Republicans couldn't put the ball across the goal line.
I make a prediction now that if the Republicans do not decide on a significant, meaningful, powerful tax reform package that they vote on before December 1st. I don't think they can wait until the Christmas Eve deal. That's when all the mischief gets thrown into these bills. But if they don't pass and he doesn't sign tax reform, Trump's gonna do a lot more deals with the Democrats, and he's gonna run as kind of an independent populist, and he'll probably be a lot more popular than Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan, who right now in the last, I think it was the Gallup, 15% each. That's what their popularity. So he has double the popularity One poll shows him now at 45%, so he's gone up 7%. He's a lot more popular than they are, and he wants to be a popular president. He wants to be popular.
Sure, and it's a fair demand of the Congress. Look, get together, agree upon a bill which does the things we all want, and you guys make the compromises inside the Republican caucuses in both houses. And if you can't, because I want tax cuts, I need them, I'm going to have to deal with the Democrats. And so then you get they move away from basically a Republican conservative-oriented tax deal to a more populist one. You know, Bannon was talking about raising taxes on the super rich.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, and I can understand Trump, but the point is that this is a real ultimatum to the Republicans in both houses. I mean, do something with your majority.
I love it. I've got to say, I think it's genius. I think it's genius. I think, it doesn't mean I'm going to be happy with some of the things that happen.
Compromises that come out, right?
Yeah, but look, I said this last night on Special Report. The Republicans have no one to blame but themselves. If they had stopped trashing Trump to reporters and behind closed doors and sometimes on the microphones, like after Charlottesville, and if Mitch hadn't said, "Oh, this is all too complex. Donald Trump's new at this game. It's too complex." If they hadn't promised Donald Trump that Obamacare was going to be repealed, then it was skinny repeal was going to happen. None of it happened. They didn't give him the support he needed. They trashed him on the travel ban. They did all this stuff. And imagine, Pat, had they actually worked with him and gotten a couple of these big things done. Imagine if they hadn't gone home for their August recess.
Exactly. What did they went home? 5 weeks or something like that?
Yep.
Then they came back and it was about September 4th or 5th. And I heard someone on the radio say, well, they're going to be in session for 12 days.
That's good work if you can get it.
What is it with these guys?
Yeah. Well,
a lot of us journalists, when we were in the White House, we were working 80-hour weeks and stuff.
No, yeah, that's out the window. We got to get home and go to those picnics and stuff. This was Steve Bannon, part of his interview with Charlie Rose, which is going to air on Sunday on 60 Minutes.
The Republican establishment is trying to nullify the 2016 election. That's a brutal fact we have to face.
The Republican establishment wants to nullify the 2016 election.
Trying to nullify the 2016 election.
Right.
Absolutely.
Who?
I think Mitch McConnell, and to a degree, Paul Ryan. They do not want Donald Trump's populist, economic, nationalist agenda to be implemented. It's very obvious.
I completely agree with Bannon. I have a book on populism coming out in October, Pat, called Billionaire at the Barricades. And they never liked Trump, didn't want him to win, didn't think he was going to win, and don't like dealing with him. And now Trump says, okay, you don't like me? These other people don't like me either, but at least they'll cut deals.
I think what happened is that leadership in both houses of the Congress decided, look, we've got Trump, we've got him for 4 years, we can get some things from him on getting rid of these executive orders of Obama and getting rid of the climate deal and the rest of it, but we can outlast him, he'll be here, and then he'll be gone, and then we go back to business. But there's no going back to business for the Republicans. The old Republican ways of, if you will, the Bush Republicans, say, of 2016, that class of 16 candidates, that is all over.
It's gone.
It is all over, and what Trump has given them is a signal. Look, we cannot go along with your program. You get nothing done. If you bring something down to me to sign, I'll sign it. But if you can't get anything done up there, fellas, I'll talk to my friends Nancy and Chuck.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And Pat, for all these Freedom Caucus guys to come forward and Rand Paul, and he's grousing about the debt ceiling, and look, I completely understand what he's talking about. We're borrowing money from Canada, Japan, China, Germany, running up the debt. But because the Senate could have passed Obamacare repeal, and we could have saved $800 billion over 10 years. They decided they didn't want to do that.
Well, exactly. Look, you got to. I think the average American looks out there and says, "Look, you've spent the money, you've appropriated the money and spent the money, and now how do you think you're going to pay for it?" And they say, got to raise the debt ceiling. They say, well, all of us, we've got to deal with our own family budget. My business, I can only spend so much and have to borrow to cover this and that. Everybody does it, but every year we find ourselves on the brink of a national default. And what are they doing? They're fooling around with this up on the Hill, and people can't understand it. And that's why I think there was enormous applause when Trump said, look, if you can't do it for 18 months, I'm doing it for 3 months. Let's do it. Let's get $8 billion or whatever we need down there in Houston, get ready for Miami, and it's done. And I think people probably stood up and applauded.
Now, I think in the polls that came out afterward, not to say they're all accurate, but people want, more than anything, they want the parties to work together to get real results for America versus, dickering over the debt ceiling.
That's exactly the message you got to tell the Republicans. I mean, if I were Trump, get them in the room and say, look, I want to work with you guys. I want to have
They're there today.
Programs we agree on, but you got to get me something down here I can
Need
sign.
Something.
We have to and get it done, and you haven't done it. You're forcing me to go where I'm going to go because you may be content with being a failure and doing nothing. I am not.
And Paul Ryan was with Martha McCallum last night and said this.
We've actually passed more bills in the House for the president and his agenda in this first 6 months of his administration than in the first 6 months of Obama, Clinton, and both Bushes. The House has passed 316 bills. That's a record pace. Now, 260 of them are still in the Senate. The Senate's busy working on judges and appointees and the rest. But the House has been extremely productive. Not just extremely productive. The House has been more productive than any Congress in the modern era.
Well, I don't know about that, Pat.
That's a fairly hard sell.
He's feeling that conservative challenge coming, isn't he?
Congress is at 12% approval. I think they've soared up from 8% or something. And the reason is you got all this Mickey Mouse stuff, I'm sure they've done, but the big items, the big 4 or 5 items everyone talked about, they got none of them.
Yeah, we passed legislation to break ground on the new FEMA warehouse in Arlington. Pat Raymond Arroyo's here.
We changed the name of a post office to get Stonewall Jackson's name off.
Oh, no, don't even start on that. Don't even start on that.
The new Barack Obama public school is going up in many municipalities.
Hey, Pat, what about that? What about Bannon hitting the bishops, though? Is that hilarious?
Oh.
The bishops are all... They're all going after Bannon now. We don't have time to play them. DACA.
The bishops are after Bannon?
Oh, yeah, because he said they want... The reason they're all for amnesty...
Must be doing something right.
Yeah. Dolan is just going crazy, the Cardinal of New York.
I haven't seen Bannon's statement, but I'm sure I will find it interesting.
Well, Pat, we really appreciate your joining us, and you have a great weekend. We'll check in with you next week, the week after. We'll take a break. Don't go. I'm sure every one of my listeners understands the importance of oral care to your overall health. There's no denying the connection. And I'm also sure that many of you have a sensitive mouth or gums. And sometimes you have painful canker sores or, sadly, maybe even painful sores from something like chemotherapy, from cancer treatment. And what you may not know is that your mouthwash, especially if it's one of those brands that really burns, it may be making things worse. So you should try non-irritating, alcohol-free Closys Oral Rinse. That's Closys. Closys is like first aid for your mouth. It's as gentle as water, but it helps relieve common but uncomfortable, even painful issues in your mouth. And unlike other mouthwashes, Closys is also pH balanced, which eliminates the burn and the irritation. Try Closys Oral Rinse for sensitive mouth, gums, and canker sores for pain-free oral care. That's Closys, Closys. Learn more about the gentle, effective oral rinse at Closys.com or get Closys today at Walgreens. Irma's coming up the coast, ready to hit the Bahamas, it looks like, South Bahamas. Direct hit to Miami. It looks like it's going to go up Central Florida. Now ordering evacuations around Lake Okeechobee and the dike there. It looks like they're going to have to release some of that. Ray in Florida on line 3. Ray, very quickly on the water situation in Florida. Go ahead.
Yeah, my comment is regarding there's a big difference between being prepared and freaking out. And there are still quite a bit of professionals here that are boarding up homes for people's secondary homes. There are landscaping companies out here trying to clear your lawns. Folks, just get enough water that you're going to need and realize that we're working at 105-degree heat index temperatures. We're still trying to batten down the hatches, and think of us. We're dying out here, and we can't get a bottle of water.
Yeah, well, God bless you. And you're right, don't hoard the water. You'll be fine. It'll be okay. Have enough for your kids, but don't hoard water. These workers who are still out there trying to do the heavy lifting and clearing, I've got to think about them, too. You are listening to the Laura Ingraham Show, 855-40-LAURA. Steve Bannon with Charlie Rose. I remember that weekend well. I was at the Bakersfield Business Conference in California, and I had to speak to 9,000, mostly small business owners in Bakersfield. It's this annual conference they do, and drove up with a friend and spoke, and Ben Carson was there. I remember Ann Coulter was there. Bunch of folks were there. It's a big deal. It's it's under a big tent, and they have various exhibits and booths and stuff. And it's always really fun to go there. And this was a pivotal part of the campaign. First weekend of October, I believe it was first weekend of October. The Billy Bush story broke on Friday, and I started getting calls from people, and I don't like reveal personal conversations. I'm not going to do that. Otherwise, people would never tell me anything because I'm just not going to do that. But suffice it to say, people very high up in the campaign and among Trump surrogates, this is what I'm talking about, were talking to me about perhaps trying to get behind Mike Pence for president. We had to ditch Donald Trump from the ticket. Otherwise, no way you win. And my response to each and every one of them, after the whole thing kind of settled in my mind, was, well, you might as well just call it quits now. You ditched Trump from the ticket. It's done. We're over anyway. Mike Pence is not going to beat Hillary Clinton. The only one who's going to beat Hillary Clinton is Donald Trump. So it's over. So if you want to do that, then just don't even, just call it, just shut down the campaign. No point. This is the guy, and you got to stay with him until the end. And it was interesting to see all these people were getting squirrely.
But Laura, the political calculus and the history of these campaigns tell us when you have something like that drop on you, a recording, it's the end. It's toxic. The fact that he was able to overcome
it. What does that tell you about his views?
Well, and his resonance with the people and understanding of the electorate.
Better than any of the experts, better than any of the pollsters or pundits. All these people who are on cable news all weekend long, and you know who they are, none of them should be working today. They shouldn't be working.
Well, they buried him that weekend.
They said it was over. We should go back and play some of those. That's what I would do if I were running that board over there, James. You go get all those bites. The weekend of October, I believe it was the 9th. If my memory serves me correct, go back and look at my schedule. That weekend and then Monday morning, it was done. He was over on MSNBC, on CNN, all weekend long. The obituary of Donald Trump was being read to the American public.
And they played that tape again and
over,
again.
The next
and
week,
again.
all the way to the next week's Sunday shows.
It.
Kept going, kept playing it over and over and over again. This is what they did. And so Bannon is right. I don't know anything about the Christie thing. I don't know what he's talking about.
Christie spokesman Brian Murray has issued a statement. As has been widely reported, the governor had been offered multiple cabinet positions in the White House in addition to senior posts and elsewhere. He chose to stay as governor and complete his term. Any assertion to the contrary is simply factually incorrect. That's what the governor's position is.
What position did he turn down in the cabinet again? Well, I don't recall. Sure. It wasn't reported, I don't think.
No.
As has been widely reported.
But they say multiple cabinet positions and senior posts in the White House.
What did they offer him? HUD? What did they offer him? HUD? HHS? Or no, he's not HHS. It's not his area. No. Department of Homeland Security, maybe? I think he wanted justice. He didn't get it, right? He wanted justice or maybe chief of staff.
He would have been good in that.
He would have been great in justice. But, it is what it is at this point. But there were a lot of squirrely Republicans. But Bannon, I don't you love that? I'm Irish. I have a black book.
But just to tie this together, the reason that the repeal and replace bill was not waiting for Donald Trump when he landed, the reason there was no debt relief bill when he landed or anything else or tax bill is because they didn't think he would win. The Republicans in Washington did not think he would win. But Bannon, I'll tell you, he's lashing out not only at the establishment Republicans, but at the bishops, the Catholic bishops, for supporting DACA.
Oh, no, this is good.
The Catholic Church has been terrible about this.
Okay, fair.
The bishops have been terrible about this. By the way, you know why? Because unable to really to come to grips with the problems in the church, they need illegal aliens. They need illegal aliens to fill the churches. It's obvious on the face of it. That's what the entire Catholic bishops condemning. They have an economic interest.
The question from Charlie Rose was, you're a good Catholic, and a wonderful cardinal like Cardinal Dolan is even opposed to this, Steve. And that's when he issued that reaction. Well, now Cardinal Dolan from New York is responding, though maybe he's not responding.
I didn't hear Steve Bannon's comments. You might imagine I was rather befuddled to see it. I don't really want to care to go into what I think is
that's when you stop talking.
A preposterous and rather insulting statement.
Not denying it,
the only reason we bishops care for immigrants is for the economic, because we want to fill our churches and get more money. That's insulting, and that's just so ridiculous that it doesn't merit a comment.
Now, just to correct Steve Bannon here, it is silly to think that the bishops want poor people in their pews. That doesn't help
their
them.
Services.
They
ain't going to get a lot of contributions.
No, the better argument would be to say they need refugees and migrants because they float a lot of their bureaucracy using the $92 million in federal grants they receive from Migration and Refugee Services. They get grants from the federal government to resettle migrants.
90 mil.
So if you don't have migrants and you don't have refugees, they don't get the money.
Dries
now
up.
There's the more direct.
Cut that money off.
I don't know why Bannon didn't bring that up. That's much more interesting than the argument he made. I think that's kind of off the mark.
I think is a preposterous and rather insulting statement.
Ho, ho, ho.
He does have a Santa Clausian physique, Dolan.
He's a jovial fellow.
Very jovial.
That's what you're referring.
And he's very, he's always been very open to coming on this show and returning calls.
Has he been on repeatedly?
Never. Okay. Not once. I was once in the rain in New York, in a rainstorm, and I came to the doorstep, and they didn't open the door for me. Remember? They welcomed the refugees and the immigrants.
Welcome the stranger.
Welcome the stranger. But I hit that big bell at St. Patrick's, thinking the secretary would let me in, and they opened the door like it's
a little crack.
It's like the nuns. It's like the nuns in Sound of Music. They opened. Oh, Maria's not here. Maria's in seclusion, my dear. Maria can't come to the door.
Like the doorman in the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, what are you here for? Remember? Oh, why didn't you say so? Come on in.
Well, you didn't get welcomed in then.
No.
So they didn't welcome the stranger, Laura Ingraham.
No, so it's always the poor, the widow, the orphan. I mean, did I have to bring, my kids to get them to open the door? They didn't open the door. They're like, oh, no, he can't see you. How about just a little shelter? I got nothing. Open the door for me. A little rain. If I had a burqa on, they would open it right up.
Come on in.
Oh, come on in. I'm a little befuddled over all this. It's very insulting. But you notice there's no denial. No denial.
Well, it is a kind of silly argument. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
I've never heard about Steve Bannon, and I'm not going to comment on it at all, but let me continue to comment on it for the next 2 minutes. Bill in Texas on line 2. Bill, go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, Laura. Yeah, I just finished helping my cousin. He had 4 foot of water in his house, lost everything. He didn't have flood insurance, but it's rough. But what I wanted to say is since Bill Clinton was president, we done spent $3 trillion on illegals, and they already owe $55 billion in fines alone for being here. And people got to wake up to the fact that you're standing in line for gas behind illegals, you're standing in line for groceries. Trump's gone ahead and given them a 6-month suspension on this DACA thing, but that doesn't protect the DAPA parents, and those DAPA parents need to go.
Oh, I said that on TV.
I've been a firm supporter of Trump for 2 years, and people need to wake up. The Tea Party's having some kind of get-together the 23rd up there in D.C. I hope to see you and Ann Coulter and some others. But that's the other thing. We need some hardcore people like you, Ann Coulter, Sean. You need to hold Trump to his campaign promises, and y'all need to band together and help us, because we're going to lose our country.
No, our country's
amnesty. We're never going to win another election.
No, thank you for raising that, Bill, because I don't think the White House is fully comprehending the electoral significance of an amnesty of 1 million illegals. And don't call them undocumented citizens like the Associated Press is calling them now. That's what they refer to them as, undocumented citizens. So how did it go from illegal aliens to illegal immigrants to undocumented immigrants? Now it's undocumented citizens. And I just call them unregistered Democrats. That's what they are. But the electoral significance of this for the Republican Party is devastating. You need to look no further than the state of California, the state of Colorado, both of which were consistently Republican. Remember, Ronald Reagan was governor of California, and of course we had Pete Wilson, governor of California. You had Schwarzenegger, was kind of a liberal Republican governor, not great, but he was a Republican. How's it looking now for the Republican Party? Years and years after we opened the doors, the flood of sanctuary cities and illegal immigrants in California, it is Democratic Party officials as far as the eye can see. And Texas thinks it's insulated from all this. I don't think so. Texas isn't insulated from this either. They're all over Texas. So, for me, any compromise should be, you're here illegally, unless you go back to where you were born or where you came from and try to apply legally, then, you can't be a citizen. Even if you allow people to stay here and not deport them, they can never vote. That's what I would say. No voting. No voting rights. You can have some type of other status, but you're not a citizen if you came here illegally. You have to go home. If you don't know the home, well, guess what? You still have relatives there. All of them do. And you have to go through the process. Think of what people did to come here legally over the past 50 years in this country. Legal immigrants, what they had to go through, the paperwork, the waiting, the money they had to spend on lawyers and all of the bureaucracy they went through. But you know something? When they do that, they are much more inclined to be assimilated into American society, at least gradually. Because why? Because they instantly had to follow the law. The law meant something to them, and it was an inconvenience for sure. But they followed it. I don't have respect for these parents of these young people who brought their kids over here. They knew exactly what they were doing. So any argument you make about the so-called youth who are 36 years of age and younger, any argument you make about them, you cannot make about the parents. It's an electoral ticking time bomb for the Republican Party. I agree with that caller. 855-40-LAURA. Do you notice how people are just forgetting about Houston now? Because they got to Florida. We'll take a break. I want to hear from all of you in the Houston area, Florida, your comments on the storm. We have a lot more to get to.
We have some amazing sound of survivors from Harvey. We're going to share that.
Okay, we're going to share that with you as well. Don't go away. Summer is nearly over and it's been hot, but there's still time to take a cool plunge and try Ovation this week with their end of summer 15% off promotion. Why? Ovation Cell Therapy is clinically proven to repair over 75% of split ends and reduce breakage after just one use. This unique treatment nourishes the hair and scalp with complex proteins, vitamins, and other key nutrients. So you end up with thicker, stronger, healthier hair. I use it. I love it. Even if it's not hot outside, you can feel hot because you're going to choose to use the best hair care product on the planet. That's Ovation Cell Therapy. 15% off for a limited time, no minimums, no restrictions, and guaranteed. A cool 15% off of everything you buy, from volumizing products to moisturizing remedies, color protection formulas, 15% off all of it. Go to ovationhair.com. Select Laura Ingraham in the survey at checkout. That's ovationhair.com. Remember to select Laura Ingraham at checkout for the 15% off savings. Hurry, this ends soon. Ovationhair.com. You are listening to The Laura Ingraham Show, 855-40-LAURA. We got a lot of people on the line. Stories of heartache coming out of Houston, Texas are just they're hard to hear. They're hard to watch. Our fellow citizens extremely just crestfallen, heartbroken but with their lives and their children's lives and your health. You have your pets, your health. I mean, you have your faith. That's what keeps you going.
For those of us in other parts of the country, Laura, it's images of water and people in boats and anchors at relief shelters. For the people now, going back to Texas, as
Their
it will
homes.
be for Floridians, it is their lives thrown all over their neighborhoods, your belongings just trashed. And you do have to psychologically get your head around that. It is a trauma. It does shake you.
It's like a war. It's like a war, except you weren't physically attacked. You were physically attacked by, nature.
Well, and it helps you focus on the blessings of God and your family, and you have to kind of cling to that through the rebuilding.
Let's go to David in Florida, line 4. David.
Yes.
David, go ahead, my friend.
Yes, thank you for taking my call, Lord.
You're welcome.
Hey, we were talking about the DACA parents coming in to the country and everything illegal. Money isn't illegal by no means, but how you acquire that money is. And usually if you acquire it illegal, then the government takes it from you. So in a roundabout way, these people come in and their children, it's kind of the parents' fault for bringing them in and allowing them to be here. I don't know. It's kind of like,
it's not our responsibility. Here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to cut to the chase. It's not our responsibility. The American taxpayers did not vote for open borders. They did not vote for a government that didn't enforce immigration laws. No one voted for that, as far as I know. And so now we're being told, you must take in all these people. You must keep them here. They must be supported. They must be cared for. When American citizens' kids can't get military commissions, can't get into state schools with lower tuition, in-state tuition, can't get the financial aid that they need, and now many of them have lost their homes. But now they have to keep paying for the open borders. I'm telling you, it's not right for the American people. Jim Jordan's going to join us. We're going to take more of your calls. We want to hear from Houston area. We want to hear from our Floridian listeners. We want to hear from people who've been through these types of hurricanes, although this is something like we've not seen in the United States before. Said it's the biggest hurricane to ever hit the United States on record. That's what it looks like is coming our way in about 48 hours. Don't go away. Every weekend you have a couple of choices. You can try to get a little relaxation in, maybe breathe after a busy week. You're running around, kids, grandkids. Or you can knock out a list of the projects you've been putting off. I love projects. Don't I seem like a project person? Love it. I still have pictures on the floor just sitting against the wall after I moved in. They kind of look good on the floor. Leave them there. But I do need some window coverings, and selectblinds.com is the place to go. They help you out. They help you measure and pick the right blinds, shades, of shutters for your windows. It's critical. You don't want to be giving a peep show to the neighbors, and you don't want the sun to be coming into your windows and fading all that fabric and your floors, your wood floors, your carpet. You don't want to do that. So you got to go to selectblinds.com, 5-star ratings. Oh, you bet they have them out the wazoo. And simple, easy, smart way to get blinds. And just go to selectblinds.com. Remember, mention our show, The Laura Ingraham Show, at checkout using that little drop-down menu. And they're great partners of ours. Love the product, love the company. SelectBlinds.com. Protect you from the end of summer heat and those rays that damage your floors and your fabrics today. SelectBlinds.com. For this, what you all want to do, and if you do, then where's the legislation? So, believe me, Donald Trump would rather be with the Republicans on these issues. He'd rather be working with the Republicans.
It's a frustration for him because despite the pie-in-the-sky House passage, they can't get anything through the Senate. And debt relief, how long have they been dithering around with this?
This happens all the time.
I know.
But remember, this debt ceiling deal happens every 6 months. It's the debt ceiling. Oh, and then that's a crisis. Then the media blames it on Republicans. It goes on and on. So Trump and Schumer are like, let's forget the whole debt ceiling vote at all. Let's just not have debt ceiling votes anymore. The problem is then all of a sudden you have $24 trillion in debt. And Donald Trump during the campaign talked about the ticking time bomb of the federal debt will turn into Greece. Where are we going to get that $24 trillion to pay back China, Germany? When they come a-calling to collect their debt, what are we going to give them? What are we doing? No one thinks about this.
No.
And America becomes weaker and weaker and weaker. The dollar right now is really, really low. The dollar started out strong at the beginning of the Trump term. Dollar's now lost a lot of ground. That means American products are cheaper. However, it means that, our purchasing power overseas is, lower and lower. It's worse and worse. And so I like king dollar. I like strong dollar. I don't like the weak dollar theory. Some of the economists think a weak dollar is better. Well, I don't like that. I like a strong dollar. I like king dollar, as Larry Kudlow calls it. We have a lot of people calling in from Hurricane Target. Florida is now bracing for a direct hit from this monster hurricane, Hurricane Irma. And it looks like it's the biggest hurricane to ever hit the United States. Most powerful, widest hurricane. The width is in the 150, 200-mile range.
Wow.
And that means hitting the Florida Peninsula, hitting first the Keys after glancing the Bahamas. It's not going to have a direct hit on Nassau, the more northeastern Bahamian islands. Thank the good Lord for them. They're skating right through this. But it's going to go right up the middle of Florida, all the way up toward Atlanta, and hit that, that Georgia coast as well. It looks like, the width of this.
It's apocalyptic.
It does.
The series of what we're seeing, these 3 active hurricanes, and then on top of the one we just got over in Harvey.
From Harvey. No,
your heart breaks. It brings back all kinds of horrible memories. But that's why, to the people in Florida, get the most important things. Get the pictures, get your important papers, and get enough clothes for a few days, and get your family out of harm's way.
Just get out. Nothing is worth your life. Nothing is worth your health.
But the thing I regret in Katrina, the pictures and the videos I left behind. Get those. You can never replace. They're memories you can't replace.
Because that was when
everything
that's when it was VHS, or that's when it was on tape before the phone.
Those Super 8 tapes.
Oh yeah, the iCloud. It was before the iCloud. We have everything on the iCloud.
That's not so secure either.
No,
but it's important to take those pictures and memories.
There are people who believe that this is. This is God's angry at us. You see a lot of stuff online. There's a lot of people believe the Book of Revelation is. Coming true, and we're seeing it all. Everyone sees the enormity of the suffering, and in the Islamic incursion, and what you're seeing in the Philippines, what you're seeing in Myanmar, with hundreds of thousands of people fleeing, and Africa, and the South African. Suffering in South Africa post-apartheid, still suffering there. Suffering, starvation, Sudan. There's an enormous amount of suffering, and taking it all in and really thinking it through, for a human mind without faith, it's very difficult. Even with faith, it's difficult.
You bet. Well, I think that's why we have these, I call them clarifying moments. These are clarifying moments for you to reflect on what really matters. And though people say, it's the end of the world, newsflash for everybody listening, the end of your world is coming. Whether it's everybody's world that's coming to an end, it doesn't matter. Yours will come to an end at a definite point. This is a moment of reflection where you can say, what am I made of? What really matters in life? And what am I here for? And these tragedies have a way of clarifying that for us. And you know what I came away from Katrina with? It was my family. It was my friends. And the memories we make together, and the good you do and you do for others, that's all that lasts. Everything else gets washed away like leaves on the seashore, and it'll happen. And we're going to see it in Florida. But they're beautiful examples of love and caring that you're seeing emerging out of the tragedy of Harvey. And for a country worried about monuments and BS things like, the debt ceiling and what Trump's doing, these are minor concerns compared to what these people are going through today, and it's about the stuff that matters.
Luke 21, chapter 21, verses 25 to 28.
Preach it.
Preach it, girl. There will be signs in sun and moon and stars, and on the earth dismay among nations, in perplexity at the roaring of the sea and of the waves. Men fainting from fear in the expectation of things which are coming upon the world. For the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Revelation 21, verse 1. Then I saw a new heaven and new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth passed away, and there is no longer any sea. I mean, Daniel chapter 8, verse 19.
Prophecy hour here.
He said, "Behold, I'm going to let you know what will occur at the final period of the indignation, for it pertains to the appointed time of the end." Matthew chapter 24, verse 14. "This gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all the nations, and then the end will come." 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 24. "Then comes the end, when he hands over the kingdom to the God and Father, when he has abolished all rule and all authority and all power. So it will be the end of the age." Matthew 13, verse 49. "So it will be the end of the age. The angels will come forth and take out the wicked from among the righteous." And it goes on and on and on. I don't know what to say, but it is interesting. And there are a lot of people who believe in this. There is a prophecy that's unfolding.
Well, as I said, I knew a lot of people who were very attached, including very well-known spiritual leaders, and they were convinced that they were going to see the end of the world. And Rebecca wisely one afternoon said, just because their world is coming to an end doesn't mean all of our worlds, but eventually our world will come to an end.
Yeah.
Your world comes to an end when you die.
Right.
And we're all going to be there. So make every moment count. Do the good you can for the people around you. And these moments of hardship strengthen you and teach you who you are as a people. And we're going to see that in Florida as we have in Texas. And I'll tell you, it's a horrible thing and it's a beautiful thing. It's beautiful to watch Americans come together the way they are, but it's terrible what they're going through.
1 Peter chapter 4, verse 7. "The end of all things is near. Therefore be of sound judgment and sober spirit for the purpose of prayer." That's
prayer. And at
That's...
the end of the day, it's the thing you have. Mother Teresa had that great line. I learned long ago, I used to think prayer changed events.
Mm-hmm.
She said, no, prayer changes us and we change events. I like that.
Oh, yeah.
It gives you the strength to do what you're supposed to do. And these moments clarify. They're clarifying moments. They help you figure out what this is all about, why you're here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about getting another TV, or getting a new car, or getting another boat, or getting another vacation home, or getting another addition. All of that stuff is going to be timber and toothpicks after this storm passes. It's the lives that continue and the good you can do with them that matter.
Mark 13, verse 7. "When you hear of wars and rumors of wars, do not be frightened. Those things must take place, but that is not yet the end." A lot of people are afraid, and they're very afraid, and they have a reason to be afraid. We have a monster storm, we have monster fires, we have a media that is complicit in the misrepresentation and the prevarication which clouds the minds and the thinking of people all across this country and all across the world. We have great evil in our world. There's always been evil, but there is great evil today, and it's in the form of people who subjugate others, those who torture, maim, destroy, in a lot of different ways, physically, spiritually.
And deceive.
And that is evil. And, the power of evil over the human spirit and the resistance of evil. That's why I love the St. Michael prayer. St. Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protector against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl about the earth. Amen. That's the best prayer. Yeah. I love St. Michael. That's why in Dimitri, Ingraham, St. Michael prayer. What line am I supposed to go to? 6? Line 6, Sherilyn in Illinois. Sherilyn, getting very biblical on you today. Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay, Laura. It wouldn't hurt for the governor and the president to call for a day of prayer.
There was a day of prayer. It was last Sunday. It was last Sunday. It was a national day of prayer.
Are we having another one? We have catastrophes of biblical proportions. Do you know the story of Nineveh in the Bible and Jonah? The people did repent, and the city was saved. And in colonial times, there's a story of a huge fleet coming toward New England. The pastor called for the people to go to their churches and pray, and amazingly, a huge storm destroyed the enemy fleet. D-Day, Eisenhower prayed. We need, at this point, this is what we need, I think.
Well, Mike Pence, Mrs. Pence, led the rescuers, the volunteers in prayer. It was a beautiful moment. Mrs. Pence is, she's a real believer. And I think going back to, speaking of Florida, going back to that rally that Trump did I went to it now, I can't remember where it was, in Florida. Forgive me for not remembering it where it was. It was west of West Palm Beach, about a 45-minute flight. But when she did the Our Father, I was there. Melania did the Our Father. Remember when she did that and they made fun of her? Mm. That's in the Bible, too. They will mock you for your belief in me. And for those of you who suffer in my name, you will be glorified. I mean, you will be glorified for suffering in the name of the Almighty in Christ. And if you're a Christian, that's what you believe. It's not written in the Bible that it's supposed to be a good ride for us. People think it's supposed to be it's all going to end well. It's happy endings. No, not really. Not really. I mean, it's nice to have a happy ending, but not everybody's going to have a happy ending. But if you believe this, it's all going to end here on this earth anyway. The next place is much better, Melbourne, Florida. Thank you. Sorry for my friends in Melbourne that I forgot where the rally was. But.
Some breaking news really fast. The House just passed the Harvey disaster aid package and the debt ceiling increase. Stopgap spending, that will last for 3 months. And then
December, we'll see. We'll see what Donald Trump and the Republicans can do. It looks like Harvey has, to use Raymond's favorite word, toggled a little bit more west, meaning Naples, Bonita Springs, up to Tampa. They're going to feel it more than originally thought. That's what it looks like right now. We'll keep bringing you these updates. The DACA kids and their parents, should they get voting rights? I say this is a precarious situation for Republicans to give voting rights to people who came here illegally for a whole host of reasons. Don't go away.